Today we're talking about growing hostas in containers and the tasks that are involved in maintaining them. You can see we've used a terracotta pot. You can also see that we've got a copper band running around the top. The copper band actually helps prevent snails from attacking the hostas. There's a bit of debate about this, but in our experience it tends to work. So if you're growing your hostas in a pot, we do recommend the copper tape. If you're growing your hostas in a pot, you'll also need to divide them, probably about every 3 to 4 years. This will set them back a bit in growth. However, if you leave them in the container for too many years, they'll become overcrowded and they won't grow as well. So we're going to knock this pot out, show you how to divide them and show you how to repot them. Hostas naturally form a fairly tight clump, so getting them apart can be a little difficult. One way to do it is to simply try and remove most of the soil, and you can do that fairly well with a garden fork, a small handheld one. Once we get to this stage, you can start to see the individual plants. So from that pot, we've got about 18 individual plants, all with a good root system like that. Now it's time to repot them. It's important with any container grown plant that you have drainage holes. And you can see that this one's got 1, 2, 3. That'll provide good drainage. Over each of the drainage holes, we like to place a small piece of crock that sits above the drainage hole. It doesn't really improve drainage, but what it does is it stops the soil mix or compost mix from working its way down through the holes. In this pot, we're going to plant 5 of these divisions that we've got. The tops are going to be fairly close to the surface. The roots, they'll extend right down. We're going to use a general purpose potting mix, which has already got some compost mixed into it, and this should be sufficient to keep these hostas going in this pot for about 3 to 4 years before they need dividing again. We usually find that if you put a little bit of the compost mix or potting mix in the bottom of the pot, the divisions will actually sit up on their own root systems. Then we can take handfuls of potting mix and backfill around each individual hosta. Simply a matter of holding these up so they don't fall down too deeply, pouring in the potting mix, and remember, you need to use fresh potting mix. You can't reuse the old potting mix because that will be depleted of nutrients, and it also tends to break down over time, which means that the potting mix itself holds a lot more moisture, and that's not good for the hostas. You've got the hostas with their crowns sitting up just near the surface, and if they've gone a little bit too deeply, you can simply reach down and lift them up a little bit. From all of those divisions, we've put 5 back into the pot. So the rest of them, they can go into the garden, or they can go into other containers, or you can put them into small individual pots and perhaps give them away to friends and relatives. All that's left to do is to water the hostas in, and we'll use a liquid seaweed fertiliser, and then we wait until spring until they start to come back to life. Container grown hostas will need to be watered right through spring and summer so that they don't dry out. It's also advisable to give them some fertiliser in the form of a liquid all-purpose fertiliser, perhaps every 3 weeks from spring through to the end of summer. For the first year, you might find that the leaves are a little bit smaller. However, in 2 years' time, this pot will be a blooming miracle. For more information on hostas, a whole range of shade-loving plants, and lots of other garden plants, including fruit and vegetables, visit the website and subscribe to the YouTube channel for regular updates on all aspects of gardening.